Have you ever wondered how little-known historical breakthroughs have changed the course of global history? Today, we're going to dive into one of the most astonishing and underrated stories of military ingenuity, an anecdote so secretive and bizarre that it sounds more like a myth than a fact. This is the story of the Sultan's invisible army. It is a tale of war, strategy, and an unconventional method that has managed to remain buried in the depths of history books. Get ready, because by the end of this video, you will look at armies, and perhaps history itself, differently. Our story takes place in the 16th century, during the reign of Sultan Selim II, also known as Selim the Drunkard. Now, before you judge him too quickly based on his nickname, I promise you're about to learn why this ruler shouldn't be underestimated. Selim II ruled during the height of the Ottoman Empire, an era bursting with military campaigns and territorial expansions. He had inherited one of the most powerful empires in the world, a behemoth that extended across 3 continents. However, with great power came equally great threats. One of the most pressing of these was Venice, a maritime superpower of the Mediterranean. The 2 empires were on a collision course, competing for trade routes and territorial supremacy. The year was 1571, and the stakes had never been higher. Venice, along with other European allies, formed what they called the Holy League, a coalition determined to curtail Ottoman dominance. The centerpiece of this brewing storm would become the Battle of Lepanto, one of the largest naval battles in history, and a deeply symbolic confrontation between the Christian forces of Europe and the Muslim Ottoman Empire. Now, here's where things get interesting. While most of the focus of this infamous battle has been on the vast fleets and the soldiers who fought bravely on both sides, very few people know about an ingenious innovation deployed by Sultan Selim II, one that changed the dynamics of warfare forever. Let us set the stage. Imagine a fleet of Venetian ships, brimming with soldiers, cannons, and endless supplies. These were the juggernauts of the 16th century, seemingly indomitable forces of the sea. On the other side stood the Ottomans, or so it appeared. What many didn't notice was that accompanying the Ottoman fleet was an unlikely but ingenious secret weapon, one that had nothing to do with the cannons, ships, or soldiers on board. Instead, the Sultan had equipped his forces with highly trained messenger pigeons. Yes, you heard that right, pigeons. Now, I know what you're thinking. How could pigeons possibly influence the outcome of a monumental naval battle? Well, let me explain. These weren't your average birds. Ottoman military strategists had trained these pigeons meticulously, using methods that rival even some modern-day tech. They served as living communication devices, carrying messages across vast distances in record time. In an age when long-distance communication was limited to slow-moving messengers or risky visual signals, these pigeons provided an unparalleled advantage. But wait, the genius doesn't stop there. Sultan Selim II didn't just use these pigeons to send ordinary messages back and forth. No, he had something much grander in mind. Recognizing that modern battles were as much about information as they were about brute force, he devised a system in which his most trusted generals could communicate in real time during battle. One pigeon could carry a paper message encoded with tactical moves, secret maneuvers, or sudden changes in strategy, all without being intercepted by enemy forces. This method of silent, invisible communication earned these feathery messengers the nickname of the Sultan's invisible army. Picture this. As the battle raged on and skies filled with smoke and the cries of warfare, Sultan Selim II's generals were receiving up-to-date instructions from their commander through pigeons flying overhead. Meanwhile, the Venetian commanders could only rely on outdated or delayed battlefield intelligence, communicated via scouts or flags that were prone to interception. The pigeons gave the Ottomans a decisive edge in coordination and timing, key elements that make or break a battle. But here's where it gets even more mind-blowing. Unlike today's encrypted emails or advanced satellites, these pigeons were completely untraceable. No Venetian commander could track where they were going or intercept their messages. It was like having a private, invisible communication network in the middle of chaos. The pigeons weren't just trained to return to a single location either. They were groomed to navigate to multiple points, each corresponding to key figures in the Ottoman command structure. This meant that a single flight could potentially communicate to several generals stationed in different areas of the battlefield. The efficiency, speed, and secrecy of these birds turned the tide in more ways than one. Of course, the Battle of Lepanto didn't go entirely in favor of the Ottomans. The Christian Holy League managed to secure a victory, which historians have often celebrated as a turning point in European dominance over Ottoman naval forces. But what many fail to acknowledge is how these pigeons and the revolutionary communication strategy they embodied revolutionized military coordination, not just for the Ottomans, but for future generations as well. Fast forward to today. The idea of using animals in warfare might seem antiquated or even quaint, but it laid the foundation for what we now call battlefield communication. The stealth, speed, and reliability of Selim II's invisible army showed that intelligence and strategy could win battles just as decisively as soldiers and ships. In fact, the concept wasn't abandoned at all. By the time of the World Wars, carrier pigeons had become a critical part of communication systems yet again. They were used to carry essential messages across enemy lines and even saved countless lives. One esteemed World War I pigeon, named Sher Ami, was even awarded a Medal of Honor for delivering vital information under heavy fire. Truly, Sultan Selim II's vision of using invisible forces on the battlefield has echoes that resonate far beyond his time. And yet, history hasn't quite given this story the spotlight it deserves. Why? Perhaps it's because it seems too simple, or perhaps it's overshadowed by the grandeur of cannons, ships, and swords. But if there's one lesson to take away here, it's that innovation often comes from the most unexpected places. The next time you hear about technological breakthroughs, remember that even a humble pigeon can play a role in shaping the world. So, what do you think? Have you ever heard of a more inventive use of animals in history? Did Selim II's invisible army live up to your expectations? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let us know if you'd like us to feature more stories of unconventional military strategies. And remember, history is not just about the big battles. It's also about the small innovations that make the biggest difference. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Historical Hidden Gems. Until next time, keep unearthing those fascinating tales from the past. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this one.